On his way to work, Harvey's life unexpectedly changed when he saw a woman collapsed by the side of the road. Driven by his instinct to help, he quickly stopped his car to assist her. However, this compassionate act caused him to be late and ultimately lose his job. The next day, when he returned to the office to pack his things, Harvey could never have imagined that a miracle was waiting for him. One that would turn his life onto a new page, full of surprise and hope. Harvey is a dedicated customer support specialist, always giving his best to care for his small family and fulfill his big dreams. His daily job may not be easy, but he keeps his faith strong and strives relentlessly as he harbors a special dream in his heart to open a unique coffee shop. In this coffee shop, customers would not only enjoy delicious cups of coffee, but also relax and play with adorable pets. Harvey envisions it as a cozy space where people can unwind, find small joys, and connect with nature. To him, this dream is not just about a business, but also a way to share his passion and love with those around him. At 35 years old, Harvey is married and lives with his wife and two lovely daughters in the city. Despite the hustle and bustle of city life, he always keeps his family in the countryside close to his heart, especially his elderly parents. This is why he has always held a deep desire to have a home of his own, where he can bring his parents to live with him and care for them in their old age. Currently, Harvey's finances are quite tight, just enough to pay for the rent and cover the basic living expenses for his small family. His life with his wife and daughters is simple, but filled with warmth. Every day, he works hard, not only for his family, but also with the hope that one day he can provide his parents with the home he has always dreamed of. Although he hasn't achieved this big dream yet, with his perseverance and determination, he believes that someday his wishes will come true. Because of his big dream of a home for his family, Harvey is always a hard-working professional who never takes a break. He is the first to arrive at the office and the last to leave. If given 100 calls in a day, he would not hesitate to handle even more, as he believes that each customer can change his life. Harvey understands that success doesn't come from small efforts, but from relentless perseverance. Not only is Harvey a dedicated employee, but he is also a model husband and father. He always makes time to care for his wife and two young daughters. His family is the greatest motivation that helps him overcome the challenges of work and life. Every morning, he leaves the house with the hope of having a more successful workday so he can give his wife and children the best, and one day he will be able to bring his parents to live with him, as he has always dreamed of. After 7 years of hard work, Harvey has proven his competence and dedication in his job. His tireless efforts have not gone unnoticed, as the company leadership began to take notice of him and consider him for a promotion to a senior management position. This was a promising sign and also a great source of motivation for him to strive toward even greater goals. Harvey understands that this opportunity didn't come easily, and he has mentally prepared himself to face the new challenges. He knows that becoming a manager is not just a career advancement, but also an opportunity to bring about greater change, not only for himself, but also for his family. As a manager, he hopes to stabilize his finances further, provide a comfortable life for his wife and children, and fulfill his dream of building a warm home for his family and bringing his parents to live with them. One Friday morning, the sunlight gently filtered through the car window as Harvey drove down the familiar road, feeling a little nervous. Today was an important meeting at the company, but he had no idea that this meeting could change his entire career. His boss had reminded him the night before. "Harvey, today's meeting is crucial. You need to be on time, no excuses." Despite the tension of the upcoming meeting, Harvey drove calmly. He thought about everything he had accomplished over the past 7 years at the company. The overtime hours, the customer calls, the late nights. Everything he did was for his family, for the dream of one day owning his little coffee shop filled with the dogs and cats he loved. However, as he passed through a quiet stretch of road, a sudden sight made him stop immediately. An elderly woman, wearing an old coat, was lying collapsed on the sidewalk. His heart raced, and without thinking, Harvey immediately jumped out of the car and ran toward her. "Ma'am, are you all right? Do you need help?" he asked urgently when he saw the elderly woman lying motionless on the ground. The woman opened her eyes, looked at Harvey with tired eyes, and replied, "I'm fine, just a little dizzy." Harvey couldn't leave her there alone. He quickly sat down beside her, holding her hand. "You're not okay. I'll take you to the hospital right now. You need to get checked out." The elderly woman tried to stand up, but clearly couldn't move on her own. "Don't worry about me. You still have work to do. Don't waste your time on me." Harvey didn't care about that. He was firm. "You're more important than anything. I can't leave you here alone. Don't worry, I'll take you to the hospital. Work can wait." She looked at him for a moment, then gave a weak smile and nodded in agreement. "You're so kind. But remember, work is really important." Harvey nodded without saying anything else. He helped her stand and guided her into the car. Although he was worried about the meeting waiting for him, he knew that helping someone in need was the right thing to do. Even though the meeting was important, and he might be late, the elderly woman's safety and well-being were more important than anything else. He drove quickly, but carefully, feeling a little uneasy about being late. But at this moment, everything except getting her to the hospital seemed unimportant. Harvey rushed down the road to the hospital, his mind focused on the important meeting that was about to take place. He knew today was a special day with a high-level meeting that his boss had emphasized he must attend on time. However, what made him more anxious was the shrinking time frame. It would take about 20 minutes to get to the hospital from where he was, and another 20 minutes from the hospital to the office. He quickly calculated in his head and realized that he would be about 10 minutes late. "I'll probably make it," Harvey told himself, though he was still worried. "After I take her to the hospital, I'll try to drive faster to make it to the meeting." He had prepared himself all day for this crucial meeting, knowing that significant decisions would be made. However, what he didn't know was that something surprising awaited him in the meeting, a piece of good news that could completely change his future. But for now, he could only focus on getting to the office as quickly as possible, even though he knew he'd have to deal with the delay in his work today. When they arrived at the hospital, Harvey immediately took the elderly woman inside and asked the nurses for assistance. "Please help her. I have to go quickly," he said hurriedly, his eyes never leaving the watch on his wrist. Every second seemed to slip away too fast, but he couldn't just leave the woman in this emergency. A nurse quickly approached, took the woman in, and escorted her to the emergency room. Harvey turned around quickly, not paying attention to anything else but the urgency to get to the company immediately. He rushed outside, walking fast to the car, his mind focused only on the important meeting awaiting him. 10 more minutes, I'll make it," he reassured himself, but as soon as he started moving, things didn't go as planned. On the main road, a serious traffic accident had occurred, completely blocking the traffic. He'd tried to find an alternate route, but had to take a detour that added quite a bit of extra distance. Harvey glanced at his watch. and in that moment, the precious minutes seemed to slip by. The more time passed, the greater his anxiety grew. When he finally made it past the traffic jam, he realized he was 15 minutes late. He hurriedly looked at the company building from a distance, knowing he was late and unsure of what would happen next. Finally, he reached the company and rushed into the office, the visible anxiety on his face. He tried to catch his breath, but as soon as he entered the meeting room, the tense atmosphere immediately made him feel something was wrong. Everyone was seated, eyes on him, and a brief silence hung in the air. He looked around and noticed some of the managers conversing with each other, while his colleagues whispered among themselves. A company director stood up, his expression serious. "We've just made an important decision, but unfortunately, you couldn't be here on time." Harvey couldn't immediately grasp what was happening. "On time?" he thought, worried. The director continued, "Today, you are supposed to be promoted to a management position with a salary increase. But because of your tardiness, we can't proceed." His eyes widened and a wave of dizziness hit him. A feeling of disappointment and regret washed over him, even though he had arrived, even though he had tried his best. He silently stood outside the room, knowing he had missed the opportunity to change his life because of an unforeseeable event. His hands trembled, but he tried to regain his composure. His voice still shook as he spoke. "Boss, I'm sorry for being late. I had a valid reason," he said, looking around the room filled with remorse. "Surely it must have been a very important reason," the director replied, showing no sympathy. "What could cause you to be late for such an important meeting? We've been waiting for you for a long time." Harvey swallowed hard, but he decided to explain. "An elderly woman fell by the roadside. I couldn't leave her there. I took her to the hospital because she needed urgent help." He lifted his head, looking into the eyes of each person in the room, hoping they would understand. "I think saving a life is more important than anything else. That's why I'm late." But instead of sympathy, there was only silence. One of Harvey's colleagues, Dan, scoffed and sneered. "Saving a life? That reason doesn't make any sense, Harvey. Everyone has their job, and we can't let the company be affected by things that happen outside." "Exactly," another colleague chimed in. "We've all put in our effort for this meeting, and now you want us to disregard everything just because of a roadside incident?" Harvey's heart felt heavy. He hadn't expected his actions to be dismissed like this, but he tried to remain calm, continuing to explain, trying to reclaim some fairness. "I understand what you're thinking, but for me, doing what I believe is right is more important. I couldn't leave someone in need just because of a meeting. I think I've proven myself as a dedicated employee over the years, and I hope you'll understand." But everyone just looked at him coldly. No one spoke. The director stood up, his gaze sharp. "Harvey, I respect what you do outside of work, but in this environment, the company comes first. We can't let things like this disrupt our work." Harvey looked around, feeling as though everything he had contributed over the years had suddenly become meaningless. He had thought he would be promoted, but now everything seemed to slip away as quickly as the wind. Harvey walked through the director's office door, his heart heavy with worry. How many times had he imagined this moment in his mind, standing before the director as someone given greater responsibility, standing side by side with those he had admired for years. But now, here he was, in a situation he never could have anticipated. The director sat behind the desk, looking up with a cold expression. Harvey didn't say anything, just stood there for a moment, trying to compose himself. He didn't want his emotions to take over, but the feeling of disappointment welled up inside him, almost choking him. "Sir, sir, I'm sorry," Harvey said. His voice choked with anxiety. "I didn't mean to be late today, but I couldn't leave the elderly woman on the side of the road. I just thought saving a life was more important than anything else." The director looked up, showing no sign of sympathy. "Harvey, I know you're dedicated, but this company can't operate on emotions. You missed the opportunity, and that is something that can't be changed." Harvey fell silent for a moment, but inside him, a burning desire kept raging. "I've given 7 years to this company, you know that. I don't lack anything, only the opportunity. I've done everything for the company, and for my family too. I dream about this moment every night, do you know? I wanted to stand here, to have my efforts recognized. I wanted to become a manager, to help more. And now, I'm almost hopeless." Harvey's voice trembled, his eyes reddening as if he was on the verge of tears. He looked into the director's eyes as if he wanted to bare his soul. "I know being late today was wrong, but you don't know how much I've been hoping for this opportunity. Every day I work, I dream of the day I'd be promoted. It's not just a job to me, it's everything. It's my dream." The director stared at Harvey for a long time, as if weighing his words. Then he sighed, put his pen down, and stood up. "Harvey, I know you have potential, and it's undeniable that you're a very hard-working employee. But in this company, it's not just about hard work. It's also about punctuality and the ability to work under pressure. You missed the opportunity today, and that's a lesson for you." Harvey lowered his head, feeling as though the ground was collapsing beneath him. He wanted to say something more, but the words wouldn't come. He had hoped so much, and now it was all falling apart. The director sighed, as if losing patience. "I understand you have a reason, Harvey, but this company can't rely on just reasons. You need to learn how to balance your work responsibilities with personal emotions. Opportunities don't come to those who don't know how to seize them." The director continued, his gaze as hard as a mirror. "Harvey, I regret to inform you that the company can no longer continue to keep you on the team. Being late today is unforgivable, especially for an outstanding employee like you." Harvey couldn't believe what he was hearing. He had dedicated his youth and energy to this company for 7 years, working tirelessly and sacrificing precious moments with his family to deliver the best results. He thought he was ready for a management position, but now everything was crumbling right before his eyes. Are you really gonna fire me just for being late once?" Harvey couldn't hide his anger and disappointment, his voice becoming hoarse. "I've worked hard for 7 years, never once thinking of giving up or slacking off. I've helped the company overcome so many challenges, and now, just because of one instance of being late, you've decided this?" The director remained calm, showing no signs of wavering. "Harvey, I understand you have your reasons, but this company needs people who can work under pressure, and we cannot allow such shortcomings to continue. You may excel at your job, but you also need to have time and discipline. You cannot set an example for others if you cannot manage that." Harvey looked down at the desk, struggling to control the anger and disappointment that were building up inside him. He couldn't stop thinking about his family, his wife and kids, the hardships that would come if he lost his job. "But I have a family, you know. I have to take care of my wife and kids, pay the rent, cover living expenses. What am I supposed to do if I lose my job? The director looked at Harvey, his expression unchanged. I understand, but that's part of the choices in life. You can look for a new job and we'll provide you with the necessary paperwork. As for now, leaving the company is unavoidable. Harvey stood up, feeling as if the entire space in the room had suddenly become suffocating. He couldn't believe that everything could change in an instant. So, this is it? Everything I've done? Does it mean anything? The director looked at him for a long time, then sighed. Harvey, sometimes in work, things don't always go the way we expect, but I hope you find another path, a path that suits you better. Harvey walked out of the director's office, his heart heavy. Everything he had worked so hard to build had suddenly dissolved. He had no choice but to find a new job, and quickly. He knew that without an income, his family would face hardships. He had to do something to hold everything together, no matter how dark the skies seemed. Harvey stood still in the dim office, his eyes unfocused, his mind empty. The door had closed behind him, but in his mind, all the images of his wife and 2 young daughters kept flashing before him. The suffocating feeling, as though he had just lost everything. He thought about his family, his wife, who always had to endure the hardships of life, carrying all the burdens to keep their home from falling apart. He thought of his 2 little daughters, children who couldn't have pretty dresses like their friends, who couldn't dine out at restaurants like other kids. Poor little things, watching their parents work tirelessly every day without ever experiencing true joy. He thought about their cramped rental house, where they lived under difficult conditions, because he could do nothing but work endlessly every day, burying himself in his job to earn money to take care of his family. But it was still never enough to give them a better life. His parents lived in the countryside, and for an entire year, he hadn't had the time to visit them. When they were sick, they had to take care of themselves, with no one there to help, no one to provide warmth and love. He felt useless and inadequate. He was a husband who couldn't give his wife an easier life, and a father who couldn't fully care for and nurture his children. He sat down, his face in his hands. Everything inside him felt like it was collapsing. He asked himself, why couldn't he do better? Why wasn't he good enough? The years of dedication, all those hours without rest, only to fail right in front of him. He felt like a complete failure. Why had he let himself fall into this situation? He felt guilty for not being able to bring joy to his family, for not being the person they deserved. Tears began to fall. No longer able to be held back, he cried like a child. Not because of the company, not because he lost his job, but because of the overwhelming feeling of failure in his own life. He had failed to be the husband and father his wife and children needed. And now, he didn't know how to fix it all. Harvey stood still, feeling a surge of shame and anger. He had devoted 7 years to the company and worked tirelessly, always arriving early and leaving late, even sacrificing time with his family. But just because of one late arrival, he was fired. He couldn't understand why his efforts weren't recognized. The feeling of betrayal made it hard to breathe. He had thought he would be promoted, but now everything had fallen apart. He knew he had to find a new job immediately, but inside, he was lost. If not, he wouldn't be able to pay for their rental house or provide for his family. His entire future now seemed to be hanging in the balance. He wondered if he could get back up and start over, just hoping to overcome this challenge and take care of those he loved. He finished the last link and replaced the tube on the back of his suit. He then took his last link from his suit. The next day, when Harvey returned to the company to clean out his desk, he unexpectedly ran into the woman he had saved the day before. She was standing in the hallway, looking at him with a friendly gaze. Harvey couldn't believe his eyes, but he still greeted her politely. You're here again. I didn't think I'd see you again." The woman smiled lightly, her voice warm, yet with a hint of mystery. "I suppose you didn't expect this. I know you've been through some tough times. You were fired just for helping me." Harvey looked at her, curious. "Actually, I don't know what to say. Everything seems to be falling apart for me. But why would you say that?" The woman paused, gazing deeply at Harvey. After a moment of silence, she said, "I'm Max's grandmother. Someone you may not have heard of. My grandson owns a large marketing company. You could work there, earning twice the salary you're getting here. I'll help you." Harvey was shocked, his mouth opening but unable to find words. The woman smiled gently, then continued, "Max is always looking for people with strong character and dedication like you. I think you could be exactly who he's been searching for." Harvey still couldn't fully grasp what was happening. He tried to nod, but inside, a strange feeling surged. "Oh, are you saying I could work at Max's company?" The woman looked at him with hopeful eyes and gently nodded. "Yes, but you have to take the initiative. I've already spoken with Max, and if you're interested, this opportunity will be open to you." Harvey stood there, feeling as if everything around him suddenly brightened. After all the failures and struggles, maybe a new opportunity was finally on the way. Just 5 years later, Harvey's life had changed in ways he couldn't have imagined. From a man burdened with financial and family worries, he became a successful individual with a stable career and a popular pet cafe. The hardships and challenges he had faced were now only a part of the past because he had learned how to overcome them with faith and perseverance. After being introduced to the marketing company he had always dreamed of working for by the grandson of the woman he had helped, Harvey began a new chapter in his career. Not only did he prove his abilities, but he also earned the respect of his colleagues and superiors. With his dedication, energy, and passion, Harvey quickly rose through the ranks and achieved great success. Thanks to his professional achievements, he had the financial stability and confidence to fulfill his dream of opening a pet cafe, a dream he had nurtured for many years. Harvey's cafe was not just a relaxing space. It became a place that brought together a community of animal lovers. The mornings at his cafe were always filled with laughter and joy as people played with the dogs and cats in a warm and cozy environment. Harvey's life now was not only financially secure, but also rich in spirit. He could spend more time with his family, especially his wife and children, after years of hard work. Delicious meals and family outings had become an essential part of his life. Harvey's story is a clear example that, even in the face of adversity, acts of kindness and relentless effort can lead to unexpected rewards. Sometimes, the right decision and a kind heart can open doors to opportunities you never imagined.